Facebook Live. Hello, Michelle Tafoya of Sunday Night Football here with Tyler Lockett. We're in Seattle, where the Seahawks are going to host Carolina on Sunday Night Football. These teams have faced each other a lot. I know this is only your second year, but when you know Carolina's coming to town, what's the first thing that goes through your mind?
It's going to be a physical game. I got the opportunity to play them twice, and we played them when we were in Seattle. Then we played them in the playoffs, and they beat us both times. But it was a really physical game, and I mean, it feels like it's a war out there. Everybody's grinding. Everybody wants that win. Every play matters, and that's what it's all about in the game of football. And it's a game of inches, and we learned that last year when we played against them, and we learned that a lot this year. So I'm looking forward to being able to play them.
And they've lost this year some really, really close games. What have you learned about them in the course of that time that you could take into this game and feel like you know something that you didn't know before?
Well, the biggest thing is those losses that they have doesn't define them. I mean, they have a tremendous defense, especially their front seven. I mean, their front seven is outstanding, and we realized that, and we experienced that last year when we played against them. And I mean, their offense is spectacular as well. So we understand there's a lot of good things about them, but, we're trying to figure out some weaknesses about them that we can try to exploit. I think our coaches did a great job game planning against them, and now it's going to be up to us on the offensive side and the defensive side just to be able to execute and get ourselves right.
And getting yourselves right, that starts also with rebounding from a week where you guys really didn't do what you normally do offensively. How do you right that ship mentally?
I think the biggest thing is you try to find the good out of it. And so, obviously it wasn't too much good to come out of it, the way that we played, and Tampa played an outstanding game. But the biggest thing is we needed one of those games to know and to learn that we can get beat if we're not on our stuff. And that allowed us to be able to work on our P's and Q's a lot this week, to be able to make sure that we're mentally right and physically right, to be able to go out here and play against a great game against a great team. And so I think that it's really helped us to be able to focus more on the little things, and knowing that when we focus on the little things, the bigger things will come.
You know, I want you to give our audience your Twitter handle.
TD Lockett 12.
TD.
Say it again. TD Lockett 12.
And if you go there, you're going to find some really interesting videos that you like to post some video messages. You did one about fear, and that how fear used to sort of get in your way. Why did it used to get in your way?
Well, I think that, the biggest thing is when you try to get out your comfort zone, you start having these type of mixed emotions and mixed feelings about, can I do this? Am I able to achieve that? And I think that, for me, I want to be able to give myself no limitations. I want to be able to achieve everything that I can in this game, because you never know how long you can play. And I want to be able to find my best and play my best. And so whether it's me being a punt return or kickoff return, I want to be able to find the best me, or whether it's a receiver. And I think this is a great year for me, just because things aren't going as they normally do, throughout my whole football career. But it's allowed me to learn how to continue to fight, continue to press, and continue to play, and just knowing that someday, one day, eventually everything is going to work out.
Had you had fears as a player in your younger self?
Yeah, I think that, the biggest thing was for me, sometimes I'll be out there and I might second guess punts, or I might, think about what if I fumble. And I mean, the biggest thing is you just have to play. And, so I've overcame that, a lot, and I've overcome that, and I'm able to finally be, me when I'm out there. And so that's the biggest thing that I learned. And when I came here, they made it so much easier for me, because they had confidence in me. I started to have more confidence in myself, and that's where it starts, is to be able to have confidence in yourself, so you could be able to play the way that you're capable of playing. So they made it a lot easier for me when I got here.
It's not an easy thing to overcome, so kudos to you for overcoming it. Was there one thing particular, whether it was before you got here or when you got here, that really clicked that in for you to overcome that fear?
No, I think the biggest thing is you got to be strong mentally. And so I remember we played against Auburn, and I ran like this little slant play in the end zone, and I kind of dropped it. It hit my chest and popped up, and I was just kind of like this, and I didn't know the ball was still up in the air, and they intercepted it. And I just played that moment in my head over and over and over and over. And I think the biggest thing that I got from it is I'll never put myself in that situation again. So I was like, either you're going to embarrass yourself when you're out there, or you're going to overcome it and you're going to play, and it's just going to make you better. And so when I think about everything that I did after that third game when we played against Auburn my senior year, everything else, went up. Everything skyrocketed. I excelled in everything. And I looked back at that because it humbled me. So a lot of the plays that might go wrong, it humbles me to be able to see, okay, like this can happen, but it allows me to go back to the drawing board and do whatever it is I need to do to be able to go back up again.
And make sure it doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
You know, it's so interesting. You played at Kansas State, where your dad played, and you broke all of his records. How does that feel, by the way, to break all your dad's records?
I mean, I think it's a great feeling now, where I can look back at it and know that I'm number one on a lot of those things at Kansas State. Hopefully nobody breaks it unless, my little brothers come along and end up breaking it. But, I mean, the biggest thing is not too many people can say they broke their dad's records. I mean, there's not a lot of records out there that's meant to be broken, especially, by their sons coming up. And so I think that for me, that's something that I can always cherish and look back on and know that since I'm done with college, right now I'm number one in the stands.
And your dad, I gotta believe, was okay with it, maybe even excited about it.
Yeah, I think a part of him was okay about it. I think he was excited because it was his son and it wasn't any other player. And I think that, then another competitive side of him was kind of like, you got to be kidding me. So
That's honest, though, right?
yeah, I mean, but as long as we keep it in the family, that's all that matters.
Speaking of keeping it in the family, John Schneider, who is, am I saying it right? Yeah, who's here, the GM, was with the Kansas City Chiefs as a director of pro personnel when they drafted your dad.
Yep.
Does John have any good stories about your dad or vice versa?
I don't know. I don't ask him too many stories, but I know that he had talked to my dad and he was saying they couldn't wait to draft me and stuff like that. And I mean, usually that's what a lot of GMs or teams say, whenever you're about to get ready to start going into the process. But I mean, he kept up to his end of the bargain. And so it was an exciting feeling when I got drafted. They didn't call my phone, which I remember they called me twice going into the draft, asking if this was the number, if this was the number. Then they called my mom's number. And so, I mean, it was a Washington number, so all of them thought I was going to Washington. And because Washington was on the clock, and then when I said I was ready to be a Seahawk, that's when everybody jumped up and down and was excited.
That's pretty cool. It's just there are so many connections there that really makes it interesting. Your work ethic. Pete Carroll's talked about it. Doug Baldwin's talked about it. That everything that you have, that you possess physically, all your skills, may be only surpassed by your work ethic. How'd you learn that?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when I was at Kansas State, I was in situations where I had the ball 24/7. And so, I mean, I was in a position where we could win the game or we could lose the game, whether it was me doing the punt return, the kickoff return, or, me playing receiver because I got the ball a lot, when I was out there playing receiver. So I knew that I was in a position to control the game and understand the outcome of the game. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I was going to excel in every area. So whether it was me staying out catching punts or whether it was me catching kicks or whether it was me catching jugs after practice or just running routes to make sure that I got it down, I did whatever it is that I needed to be able to do. And because our practices at Kansas State was so repetitive, I didn't have to worry about the play calling because we ran the plays 10 or 12 times before we even got to the game to where we already knew every look and how susceptible it was to anything. And so when I came here, I just took it with me. The practices are shorter here. I mean, we run a lot faster here, but the biggest thing is I brought all of that with me. So whether it's me catching or catching tennis balls or staying after or needing to take care of my body, I do whatever it is that I need to be able to do because I want to be able to make sure that I'm beating the person that's going to line up against me every single day.
And there was a time when you were young that I think I read when you were in fifth grade, some of your teammates thought you were in third grade because you're smaller than the rest of them.
Yeah.
So how much of you was always fighting to prove yourself?
I really didn't focus on that much. I mean, obviously I had stuff to prove because I went to the same middle school, high school, and college as my dad and uncle. But, I mean, the biggest thing was I just went out there and I just played my game. And, everybody had their opinions of whether or not I was going to live up to the expectations or not. And, I mean, those people who didn't believe saw that I beat all my dad's records, So, I mean, I think a lot of people saw and said that I may have not been as talented as them or may have not been as fast as them. I've always been in the middle. Whether it was with hands or whether it was with speed or whether with height, I'm always in the middle. And so that's how we always talked about it. That's how we always said it. And, I mean, I've just continued to go out here. And the biggest thing that I have that they didn't have is I have experience because of them, too. So they both helped me when my uncle in the special teams game, my dad in the receiving game. So they helped me to be able to be both of them at the same time out there.
And that's a very potent weapon. And I know that last year you and Russell, You know, he had to get used to your speed, and he had to get used to each other and find that chemistry. Where is it now?
It's getting better each day. I think it's getting a lot better. I had to come off an injury, think second game, so I had to try to get my speed back and stuff like that, and I built myself back to where I used to be at, and so we work on it every single day, regardless if we have deep routes or not. And I think that the biggest thing is just instincts and him knowing where I'm gonna go and me knowing where he's gonna throw it, and then when it's game day, we just gotta go out there and execute it.
The wide receiver core looks very strong for the Seattle Seahawks because of this guy, Tyler Lockett, and all of his teammates as well. Thanks for the time.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Say goodbye to Facebook.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye bye.